you want to get involved, you're welcome to join us. Okay, let's go live. You're welcome to join us if you would like to. We are following the chat in chat.libretime.org as well as discourse.libretime.org. There's a post there. If you would like to just watch and not get involved, you're welcome to watch the YouTube stream, which is available on the LibreTime YouTube channel. Today is largely kind of the agenda is up. So we'll kind of be going through kind of progress reports, what we're working on, issues and PRs on our radar, and then any Q&A and stuff like that that we would like to get to. So yeah, welcome.
Hi. I guess I'll start with this thing about MTG. I think last time I talked about it, I was kind of amazed by this tool, but after some research and some walking, and we merged already some enhancement in the analyzer, and I don't think we'll be using the Essentia library because it's too oriented for audio processing as analyzing and extracting just bits of information. So I just put it on here. So I just report back to I did nothing.
Cool. Yeah, I think the way we've gone with FFmpeg is probably simpler and a better way to go about it.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. And for those wanting to try it, the FFmpeg things or the FFmpeg changes are in master or in main. That's been renamed. So anyone pulling the LibreTime Git repo, just note that the default branch name has changed from master to main. But those changes are in there, so you are welcome to pull it and give it a try. I've been working on the Docker images and documentation. There are initial images up for all the services except for the API. That's what I'm working on at the moment. And the Playout Liquid Soap service, that hasn't... that isn't there either, though that'll probably just be a changed command but using the same image as the playout, using the same playout image. So that's largely there, needs testing, and once I've got the API up, I'm going to do some serious testing and documentation on that. But hopefully that should be there in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month or so. It really does depend what kind of the rest of my workload looks like.
Yeah. Should we continue discussing this topic, or should we continue for other topics? I had a little question about. It's quite a technical question. Is how you want to implement the reverse proxy setup with all the different services, and if we should start to use some kind of PHP FPM style of architecture for the Docker deployment.
Yeah, so I was, in fact, good point. Thanks for reminding me. I haven't actually done the legacy Docker image yet either. But yes, probably PHP FPM with some sort of reverse proxy in front. My kind of use case is running this within Kubernetes. So there's already an existing Nginx reverse proxy that would be tied into this.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether we want to offer maybe a full-blown Apache or Nginx-based Docker image for the PHP side of things, or whether we just do a like FPM based image and require people to put a reverse proxy in front of it. I'm not tied to either. See, like think projects like WordPress and that sort of thing have two different tags, one with Apache, or I think they will. I think at least WordPress has got Apache, and one just with FPM. So I'm not sure whether we want to do that. I'd probably just do an FPM based one to start, and then we can probably gauge interest, and if someone wants to implement something else, they're welcome to send a patch.
I guess it will be mainly in the. I think it's going to be shared with a Docker Compose file, and I guess it will be up to the Compose stack to implement either Nginx or Apache.
Yeah,
Stack.
pretty much. And I definitely wouldn't be using the Apache or Nginx based images in any of my workflows, so I can't really continually test and make sure that they work. So I'd rather support something that I actually use and will be like looking at more regularly.
But will this not be used as a kind of a development stack, like spinning RabbitMQ, the database, and run the different images in a dev mode, and will be able to?
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly like to see that happen. At which point, then maybe something with a web server built in, maybe a bit more accessible. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, good point.
Yeah, it was just an idea to reduce the use of Vagrant and start using Docker images, which are lightweight compared to Vagrant.
Yeah, no, they are. I'd probably still use some of the Vagrant stuff for. It's nice and like one command to test an entire stack. But yeah, for development, a web server based image is probably going to be very helpful.
Yeah, let's just dump all this thinking in the issue, and we'll be able to continue talking about it later on, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Then shall we move on to issues and PRs on our radar?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. So the first item on here is Ubuntu 22.04 support. I'm not sure. Did you put this in about supporting the 3 versions of the
Yeah,
same?
I did add the comment.
Cool. So as things stand, Liquid Soap isn't currently in 22.04. It was removed 2 weeks ago because there were some of its dependencies that failed to build from source and were removed. I've asked for a resync of that package to Ubuntu, so hopefully that gets sorted before, I think the 24th is when they freeze the Debian imports for that release, so hopefully it gets in the next week or so, so we do have a Liquid Soap version in 22.04. But yeah, to kind of maybe talk about the support for 18.04, I don't know whether we want to. It is a lot of like maintenance burden to support all 3, and it means that our kind of new versions, we can't use newer versions of software until many years after it's kind of become the new software.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, something about dropping a distro before the distro becomes kind of unsupported upstream is rubbing me the wrong way. But I think that's more me not wanting to try support things as long as possible, more than anything else. And I don't think, yeah, it's a cost benefit. It's a cost benefit analysis we'll have to do. It is a lot of work. It means that we're supporting potentially 4 or 5 different liquid soap versions,
Yeah.
at least 3 different pip and Python versions, and let alone all the dependencies.
I mean, it's only like 1 year window where we'll have to support Ubuntu 18.04, and actually, I think we can simply put some kind of maintenance only version that will be with, I don't know, like backporting some fixes for this specific release that will be still runnable on older versions without really dropping them. Like I said, like providing a bug fix support, and only then, when the 18.04 is really deprecated, we can stop releasing anything for this kind of
Yeah,
systems. But this means like our entire version schema is kind of not working well, or we'll have to add an extra dot or something. I don't know.
yeah, I'm quite happy. I think, to drop 1804 support when 2204 is supported, and then just tell people to upgrade, because that, I mean, it'll be released in what's that, March, April.
Yeah,
It'll be released in April. By the next April, 1804 will be deprecated. And it's going to take us a while to get 2204 support in.
yeah,
So it's not even going to be a year of like supported both by us and upstream for 1804. So we could just, once we land 2204 support, we drop 1804 completely, and then tell people to upgrade.
okay. I'm fine with this rolling support.
Mhm. And once we've got stable like 3.0 out, and we're supporting X number of releases of LibreTime, then we can maybe look at patch support for, the oldest version of Ubuntu. But especially for the moment where we don't have any support matrix, we're just supporting whatever the latest branch. We're not even really supporting the latest release of LibreTime. We're supporting kind of whatever's the head of the Git repo.
Yeah. And this makes me think that we will have to support PHP 8. And this is, I feel like it's going to be, I don't know PHP a lot, so I don't know if it's a huge work, but it seems quite a bit of work.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, PHP liked breaking things between 7.2 and 7.3, so or 7.3 and 7.4. So yeah, I'm also hesitant about that. I'm not looking forward to the idea of having to monkey patch, the proper libraries to support PHP 8.
Yeah. I've seen some discussion about this Propel library of people who are willing to work on this PHP 8 support, but I haven't seen any code yet, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it's going to be difficult, kind of, no matter what we do, whether we try highlight or push for support in using Vue and like rewrite the front end before in the next couple months, or whether we try support PHP 8. I'm not sure which is going to be easier or which would be possible.
I feel like if we are less distribution dependent, but more like version dependent on like PHP versions plus the database Liquid Soap, we'll have less burden of having to absolutely comply with the latest distribution version libraries versions. And for instance, suggest people in the documentation to install PHP 7.4 and from, I don't know, a custom repository or something.
In fact, there's Andre, I think his name is, the Debian Debian developer who maintains and all the PHP packages for Debian and largely for Ubuntu as well, has a PPA and a Debian repo for the different versions of PHP. It was what we looked at using for instead of PHP 7.4 support. We were just going to install that as part of the install script. So we can definitely use that and then pin that to 7.4 and then instead of moving to PHP 8.
Yeah, I think it can be a good idea, but we have to evaluate how much work it is to make the whole legacy application work with PHP 8, as it might be easy. I mean, the few patches we made for the PHP 7.4, we didn't knew how much work it was, but in the end, it's not much work, I feel, and so we should evaluate both. In my opinion, I don't know, but that's a lot of work also.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that's that we need to have a look and see what who knows, we may even already be working on PHP 8. So if it is fairly straightforward, I think that would be first prize, getting PHP support so that we're not having to install additional PPAs or anything like that. But if it is a more involved process, just going with the PPAs and pinning to 7.4 is probably the way to go.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Cool. And then, so the next point we've got is work on the global design of the project.
Yeah, yeah. This was yesterday. I made a small brain dump of and a bit of frustration about the few things I've been working on, and the lack of consistency between the designs that some proposed. And I was wondering whether there are any design documents that are already existing. I didn't find any, and if not, if we were able to draft some and have some kind of roadmap. And it was kind of an idea that I was hoping we could solve, so we have a better understanding of what should I work on and what not. Like I put the example pretty straightforward about the analyzer, which is using RabbitMQ, and whether we should merge it in some kind of celery task is really depending on the design of the entire application. And I'm saying all this without without even thinking about we should release version 3 before doing anything like this, because I had the feeling that version 3 will either never land in, or we should pack as much thing as possible in v3. I don't know.
Yeah, in fact, I'm seriously tempted to kind of get things as working as possible and then just release a v3 and have it be a base that we then work on, instead of trying to we've got so many things that it would be nice to have in a V3, but quite frankly, we can release as regularly as we want. So I don't kind of see why V3 should be such a milestone. As long as we version correctly, people can kind of follow. Okay, these are the changes. Understand that we're not guaranteeing smooth, easy, or rather easy upgrade processes between major versions. If we need to make breaking changes, we do so, and just get a V3 out the door and like finalize kind of the big things that we have, the PRs that we have open that we want to get into V3, get those in, but not wait for the pipe goals that kind of are taking forever to get done.
Yeah, because like the one thing that was bothering a lot of people was the watch folders, and I saw a lot of people providing some small scripts who are just scanning a repository and sending it to the upload endpoint in the legacy API, and I was this is way enough for some use cases, and this will be like really good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's plenty. Those are good enough for now. It's a feature request. If we get chance and we use it, then we can implement it. Otherwise, if someone has suggestions on the way to do it, that's also great. There is fairly good documentation in the issue about watch folders, about the potential kind of rock falls or pitfalls and things like that. Like, how do we actually go about doing it? Yeah, it's there. I don't think it's necessarily important to get that in and as a working stable feature for a V3.
Okay. And one thing, I'm jumping to the version schema. I feel like while we want to release V3, I feel comfortable having the alpha state because I'm able to push breaking changes and not caring too much about the major version. But I was wondering whether I will still be able to push breaking changes if we cut the V3 release and we feel confident about bumping the major version quite often.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with doing that, especially at the beginning where there's a lot of kind of legacy stuff that we're dealing with, potentially with all of this re-architecting some of how things go about happening. And maybe we look at then just slowing down. So we package a lot of those in it's like several small or several releases instead of lots of releases, just a few of them. But yeah, that's what the major version's there for. If we need to bump it, we bump it.
Yeah, I don't know. I have always felt like some version should be careful. Some software should be careful not breaking changes too often. But like you said, we have a lot of legacy code we have to get rid of, and maybe we should just use the major version. Okay, cool. So
if we're sitting on version 8.5.1, that's fine.
It's just a like psychological impression about major berms. You have to be careful with it. But so back to the design decisions, I was wondering what are the global decisions that were made for LibreTime. I saw microservice ideas. I saw like we're building right now a Django application, which is more in the monolithic kind of structure. And I was wondering with regards also to the multi-tenant features, do we want to implement features that are the tools that are usable by multiple clients? I don't know.
Yeah. So kind of maybe I should explain my picture in my head of what LibreTime looks like. It may not be what some of the other maintainers have in their head. I don't know of any central or any like actually documented roadmap or plan on this. Maybe it's something we should hash out properly in a Discord post after this, like going through, okay, this is what we come up with now. This is what we think is the way to go forward, and solicit some kind of feedback and input on that.
Mm.
But my kind of picture of LibreTime is fairly monolithic. So having an API with a decoupled reactive front end for the web side of stuff. I think we have a lot of services running in the background, and that does make things very complicated to debug and follow. I'm not sure whether we want to try combine those into fewer applications or whether we kind of leave them as is. But I don't think, especially the way most people install and manage LibreTime, I don't think a microservices approach is the way to go. Because the majority of people aren't running this in a Dockerized or containerized environment. It's running on a VPS somewhere with storage attached to it, and everything is running on the same box. That's how we all our documentations pointed to that. Most of our issues and bug reports come from that kind of setup. I don't see anyone going, but we've split this up, or we're using kind of this mesh of systems to run LibreTime on.
Yeah.
In terms of multi-tenants, again, there was a time where I thought that would be important. Was potentially something that I would have liked to get involved with. But the more I look at it, and the more that I kind of see how LibreTime is architected, I don't think that should be a design goal, especially with like the way things like Docker and VMs can be set up, or containers can be set up. Just spin up another instance. It's not like you paying a license per LibreTime instance.
Yeah.
There's no, at least I haven't seen any interest from SaaS providers to provide multi-tenanted LibreTime installs, and I think that's probably a use case that we don't need to support. And if there is someone who wants to do that, then they're welcome to provide the code and support that use case.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm also, so regarding the multi-tenant, I feel like it's adding way too much complexity for the use case. And I feel if you need another analyzer instance, just, like you said, spin another Docker container or VM, or I don't know. And if you need to move the resource usage to some other machine, just move it also. And so I kind of agree we should drop all the service platform features that Airtime was trying to build to reduce a lot of complexity. And in the end, we'll see that, like I said, the analyzer is just another task in the in a worker process. And regarding the microservice architecture, I also think it's not the right way to go. But I feel like we're still in the middle of both. Like the playout will always be something external from the API, which the API is like build up the schedule and play out is play the schedule. And those logical parts are for me really clear, and I don't see how it will work otherwise. And just like you can spin off the API without hurting any playout or having some downtime. And this kind of the benefits I see. So we'll still be in some kind of middle between a monolithic piece and a microservice architecture, but we will still reduce the whole number of application to 2 or 3 playouts and the API. And in the API, I'm counting the front end and maybe the worker, which is kind of already embedded in the API. So this is kind of
Django has fairly good task support and integration into Celery, or something like that for asynchronous work. I think we just use that and tie all of that. So yeah, I fully agree with you.
okay, cool. And do you think we will be able to, like, you talked about a discourse post talking about this, and I was wondering whether previous maintainers, maybe they're still maintainers, I don't know, but we haven't heard from them like since a long time, and maybe they have a word to say, maybe they want to contribute again, and how much liberty do we take moving things while other previous maintainers had some kind of specific view on it.
Yeah, that's kind of why I think a discourse post would be helpful. If we put up a post with the outline and then let encourage some feedback, maybe let it like leave it open for 2 months, 2 weeks to a month. I'm not sure kind of what a good timeline is. Just to give people an opportunity to or chime in if they disagree, or even if they agree, to kind of, and then if once we've got that feedback, or even if we don't get any feedback, make that be the defining kind of outcome. Is okay, cool. This is now the path that we want to take, and we've worked through the feedback. We've now like incorporated that. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. This is good news.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I don't want to be too much tied to what previous maintainers or inactive maintainers think or want. They are more than welcome to contribute, and their contributions are very much appreciated, and kind of their thoughts are important. But I think we can't be constantly working around the what if someone who isn't very active disagrees with us. And so, as long as we give a fairly open way of people to give feedback, whether that's through meetings like this or through discourse posts or issues with sufficient kind of timelines, we can kind of just go ahead with it.
Okay, cool. I guess I'll try to draft something with the schemas and things, and pretty much many things that are already said here, like the different parts. And I hope this document will be used by new contributors when they try to contribute large parts of code in there. Because yeah, this is kind of frustrating not to know what I should do and no work for nothing.
Yes. No, I get that. And I think it'll also be quite helpful when we start redoing the UI and kind of knowing, okay, this is the structure of how we want to do things. These are the platforms we're targeting. This is how kind of our look and feel sits. And all of that ties into a high level overview of what this what our workflow and what our plan is. So
Mm.
I agree, it's a very important document that should have been done at the start, but kind of needs to happen
Yeah. Okay.
for us to be able to do anything large.
Okay.
Which reminds me, I need to finalize the spending proposal as well.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
So there's another discourse post of mine that's trying to finalize a spending proposal for our open collective funds. I've got some feedback and kind of opened it and tried to incorporate into a final kind of V3 of the proposal that we can then decide and act on. But the tab sits open and then I don't get around to actually doing it. So
Okay.
complete side note, but it's another discourse post I need to finish on.
Yeah, and this is part of the discussion about, like, for instance, having resources to spin up staging environments and okay,
Because we've got funds and we've got people donating regularly, so we do have a kind of known budget. We just need to use it.
mm,
So
yeah,
we have the funds to do things like spin up a demo instance and have some sort of cloud dev environment that constantly reflects what the current master or current main branch looks like.
mm,
We just need I need to finalize that proposal so that we can then use those funds.
okay, cool. I guess we went through the agenda. I think I had some other topics, but I don't know what we plan to do.
There was one other issue on my radar at the moment that currently the playout is failing. It looks like Liquid Soap tries to write to a file that it can't access or doesn't exist. So I'm busy looking into that at the moment, and I hope to have some sort of root cause and hopefully a fix tomorrow, depending on how my day goes.
Does it
It's
have anything to do with the latest issue that's been posted on GitHub?
Yes, yeah, it's that one. So I don't know whether I'm getting exactly the same one as they are, but because I'm getting a what's it, a 4.3 error, I think, or something like that. Trying to stream to Liquid Soap. It looks like Liquid Soap is reporting it could not write data to host with a broken pipe in write. So I'm busy digging into that at the moment, and
Okay.
hopefully should
This
have something.
doesn't ring any bell. The only thing that I noticed is that the liquid soap is supposed to write to /etc, and
Okay,
this is not supposed to happen. But so we have to put the whole airtime directory, config directory, as writable for the web user.
what's it trying to write in there?
The liquid soap entry point, the configuration file for all the icecast mount points and everything else,
Let's see.
like icecast passwords and the specs.
Oh, right. Yes, because you can change those from the dashboard. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this while walking on the Ansible role, and I think we should move it, but it's another thing I was planning to do, but it's just buried under another
Yeah.
other features I've been working on.
I mean, ideally, I think things that can be changed from the web interface should be in the database. Things that otherwise it's like things in the config file shouldn't be changed in the UI. I'm not sure how we should make the distinction between things that should be configurable from the UI and things that should be in the config file. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have some more thoughts on where that line should be.
That's part of some frustration I had from this missing design document and which user we're targeting. And like if it's also like a missing documentation problem. If we document everything properly in the documentation and how to change, for instance, I don't know, the stream settings in the file, I think people will be able to edit a document, a YAML file or any file to change their stream settings. And um, this is not, this isn't really difficult in my opinion. And these are the kind of things that should be actually static, like not editable from the UI and not in the database. Currently, all the settings about stream settings are in the database, but I don't see the point of having them in a database because streams shouldn't change actually, and so are
Yeah.
the time zone. Those should be configured once and for all in the at installation time, and then you're done. And this is why I propose the idea of the file-based settings, but then someone proposed to this should be still be able to this should be editable from the UI, and I don't agree with this, but I don't know if we want to make it editable from the UI or not. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as you. I don't think um, things like the stream settings should be editable in the UI. If you're trying to troubleshoot something, you're on the box anyway. Uh,
Mm.
you need the logs, you need the status of the different services and things like that. So you have an SSH session active anyway.
Mhm.
Also, there are things. What was I going to say? Completely drew a blank. But yeah, essentially, I think the things that don't change should be the config file. Um, I'm not. I think things like maybe the users shouldn't be because those do change from day to day.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's like those two are the two extremes. Like users definitely need to be in the database, but stream settings definitely not. Um, but I'm not sure kind of how we sit with the other settings and work out those whether they should be in the database or not.
But we could just enumerate every setting and it's for me it's kind of pretty straightforward. Like the time zone should be not editable. It's related to the server location.
Um, except for the when you're dealing with users in multiple time zones, so it does help to have the users be able to configure what time zone they're viewing the dashboard in.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't explain myself. Like the server time zone.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that doesn't need to be. You're not changing that. Your server, if it's running in the cloud, should be on UTC anyway. So that shouldn't be changed from day to day. I agree with that.
But for instance, the station name should be editable, the station description. This is all fine in the database. But when it comes to some things that are related to the server, um, or for instance, the course URLs, they should be hard coded somewhere.
Yeah.
And this is something I was proposing also in this idea of having a public URL in the configuration file. So we don't have any course issues, at least for the main interface. So we won't have any problem with like the how can I say it? Like if you want to add any URLs to the course array of allowed
Yeah,
remote.
because at the moment you you set it at the start, but if your address changes, you can't actually edit it because you can't get to the web interface to change it. You have to change it in the database.
Yeah, this is what
It's very much in the wrong place.
and other than that, I don't see like sensitive things like I see one setting it that is should we allow the API to be public? These kind of things should be, I think, in the config file.
Yeah, track types I think should be database, but yeah, all the stream settings should be config file. What else is here? General. Yeah, I think that's. I agree with you in how that is set up, or how you're proposing that is to be set up.
Yeah, and so now comes the question: how do we generate all this configuration files? Because if we want to make some kind of working out of the box, we have to have some kind of template and generate them, or we have to provide a solid documentation. I will be in favor of solid documentation, but I think a lot of people enjoy the fact that they just have to run install and boom, everything is working. And maybe defaults.
So I think having good defaults is important, but then also providing a sample config file, installing that into the config file location, and then as part of your install, you just go through and edit that config file as kind of fits your station.
Yeah.
I don't see us really being able to get away from that. That is a fairly standard part of any install process for a cloud server. I mean, you look at Nextcloud, you look at WordPress, you look at pretty much anything like that. There's generally a config file that you're putting somewhere, editing, and then starting the system.
Yeah, this was, I agree with you. It's just like I had the feeling that we had to make a way to make it so smooth for the users that they don't have anything to do. And I think it's the wrong way to do because we're constraining ourselves to too much work and things. Just like the work I've been doing for the installer, I've been trying to make it smooth, but it's difficult not to, like you said, to go without editing a file, a config file at least.
Yeah, I think definitely requiring people to edit the config file is not a kind of deal breaker. It's something that we're going to end up doing unless we want to try program every question into some sort of control utility, like the control utility you were proposing for install. But I don't think that's really the way to go, because then any change to a config value, or when we're adding a config value, we have to add it to the file and we have to add it to the CLI and. Whereas we can dump a well commented config file into like the Etsy directory, and then point to it and go, okay, set up all your configuration here, read through the file and follow what it says.
Yeah.
Then come back, restart your services, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I think that's the good idea. And like you said, I tried to make this control facility, which is kind of making a lot of work that's how can I say, like I removed a lot of things that I found way too complex for this use case. But right now the control facility is more like a bridge between moving from the legacy code to the Django API, and right now it's more like a tool that is useful for the migration. I don't know,
Mm,
maybe I'm taking the wrong path, because we should maybe change the how it works before changing the tool that's edit the thing. And for instance, the facility was used to run the initial migration files and to set the IceCast passwords, for instance, and the first stream settings in the database. And this was mainly the use case, and like course URL was also required to be in the database. And this is why I create this small tool utility for the install process.
yeah.
Now that we are talking about moving all this to the to a file-based settings, I feel maybe this whole facility could just be removed, and we'll just have to edit the file.
Yeah, I mean, there may be some use in, like, I don't know how we want to look at handling database migrations and things like that, because well, with PHP, it's kind of automatic, um, no, semi-automatic. The Django migrations are a Django command, so we need to run that somehow.
Yeah,
Um, so I don't know whether that may be something that we look at doing there, or find a different way of doing that. But that is one thing to maybe just we need to think about, is how do we run database migrations.
yeah, but that's part of a larger discussion, which is, I think, rather difficult to address, because, for instance, the Django migration start fresh and build up one migration on top of the other, and the legacy is just creating a fresh database from a new schema that is up to date with the current schema, and doesn't apply any migration, and migration are only applied on older systems.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I agree that there's maybe a broader discussion that we need to have. My view is we need to migrate from the proper migrations to Django and just have them in Django, but that requires some work in how we do that. Yeah, I think it may, yeah, because we are pretty much almost an hour into this. I think that's maybe something we look at next time, or on a bug report or something like that.
yeah, yeah, okay.
Cool. There's a question from YouTube. Stephen asks, in the current installation process, are IceCast settings only changeable via the configuration file? So I don't know whether you're asking about the IceCast server's configuration or LibreTime's connection to it. The IceCast servers, like password and mount points and things like that, are only configurable from the IceCast config file, but the LibreTime connection details, so what uh, URL, username, password, and mount point it uses to communicate with IceCast, those are in the UI at the moment. And we're talking about moving those, because they shouldn't change very often, to the LibreTime configuration file. Cool. Yeah, are there any other things you'd like to chat about as we kind of come to the end of this meeting?
I think I personally could talk about a lot of work in progress, but I think it's also doable on GitHub in an async manner, so I don't have any
Cool.
specific topic I want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you've got lots of open PRs. I think of the 21 that are open, 11 are yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm working through reviewing the reworking of the organized file using pathlib as well.
Yeah, I feel this one can land in master, but the others should not be merged before we cut a
Yeah,
release. They're too sensitive to pack inside a new release.
cool. The other one that I've been keeping an eye on was the release notes into the docs, but Zach I think we're waiting for some feedback from Zach on that. I don't quite understand what he was saying in his review there.
Yeah, me neither.
Cool. Maybe we leave it a couple days, and if he doesn't get back, just merge it. I don't really follow what he wants or what his thinking is there. Cool. So the next meeting, maybe we look at Thursday the 17th. I don't know whether we want. So Thursday the 17th of March. I don't know whether we want to do the same time or change up the time.
I guess right now we only the two of us, and we could maybe move it earlier.
Yeah,
And
earlier would be better for me. So yeah, maybe I'll propose an earlier time for the next meeting and see if we get more people. Would maybe like 4 o'clock UTC, so 6 o'clock I think in Central European.
yeah, I will
Uh,
do 5 in winter time, but I'm fine with this. It's not too late.
I could do later. Probably couldn't do much earlier than that.
Okay. It's just not like the like it started at 20 like wait 20. Oh fuck, I'm getting tired. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It's a bit too late for me, and I will hope it's still in the work hours when it's possible. And if it's exclude too much people, maybe put it at the end of the work day. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I can see what I can do there. Let's have a look. 17th. I could even do what's that? So 3. Could even do like 2 o'clock UTC.
Like start of the afternoon.
Yeah,
That sounds good for
so
me.
it's the last hour of my workday. So that could work for me. Okay, cool. Then let's do 2 o'clock UTC. I'll just make a note here.
Should we leave some question mark about the start time, and or should we just say, and if some are not pleased with this, they should just raise something.
Yeah, I think let's put it out there, and then if there are people who would like to attend and can't, we can talk about it with them. Um, it is we do still have enough time that we can shift it around and
Yeah.
change it up.
Okay. Cool.
Awesome, cool. Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
no, that's not what I wanted. I want to do that. There we go. Thanks lots. And yeah, we shall. I'll see you online. If anyone would like to join us next time, it'll be on the 17th of March at probably 1400 UTC. Keep an eye out for the discourse post. Otherwise, feel free to chat to us on chat.libretime.org, and we shall see you then.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Now